All right, golfers, you want to drive it longer. We have the guest for you. There she is. If you're watching on YouTube, on audio, it's Averee Dovsek. And I'm so proud I pronounced that correctly. Avery, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me, Mark.
It's my pleasure. You know, I got two folks. Let's put this into context. I met Avery moons ago on a radio show with Frank Darby and Brian Kroll. And now you're becoming a media superstar and a long driving champion. So there's a lot of water under the bridge since we last talked.
I know it's if you would have told me where I would be back in, I think we talked in 2020.
Yeah.
There's no way that would be on my bingo card.
Okay, well, we'll get there shortly. Let's first put you into context for our global audience. Tell us about Avery, please.
Yeah, so I am born and raised Southern California, to which, long story short, family had some financial issues. I was forced into golf at the age of 13,
Mhm.
pretty much against my will. Didn't like it, but that was the only way I was going to go to college on a scholarship. Fast forward, played golf, D1 golf for Hofstra University, got a pretty much full ride academic scholarship between athletic and academic. And then after that, well, while I was in college, I started working for CBS Sports, NBC Golf Channel, SiriusXM, Golf Week USA Today, and COVID was a big blessing where it actually put my collegiate golf kind of on the back burner. It let me focus on my media career.
Mhm.
So after college, I pretty much found a way to move to Florida, and I needed a break from normal golf. So I started long drive, and now I have a pretty kick-ass journalism media career.
No kidding. All right. It all makes sense to me now because here recently, and this is a podcast, so recently means 2024 if you're not listening right away. I
Yeah.
posted a video of my daughter, and your response was, wow, this is cool to see. And I paraphrase, because the last time we talked, you said she was sort of good, but somewhat averse to the game. And so, yeah, we are. So it makes sense because I think you see some parallels over there.
For sure. I remember you speaking about your daughter vividly, saying, you want her to get into it, you want her to take the next step, and she's close, but she's unsure. So when you posted that video, that really struck a chord with me because that was very much along the same lines as my father, where he saw something greater in me than I could ever imagine. So to see that come to fruition for your daughter, that's really amazing.
Okay, now this you've tickled the teacher inside of me. So what was because you said you got into golf sort of against your will a little bit. Was there like that catalyst moment where you all of a sudden went, "Oh, okay, I'm into this, and now I want to work on it, and I want to excel, and I want to get the most out of myself."
Yeah, for sure. So I'm pretty much self-taught off of YouTube. Me and my father picked up golf at the same exact time.
Yeah.
So he would try to help me, but it's really hard taking tips from someone who sucks at golf. Hence my podcast name, Why You Suck at Golf.
All right.
Um, so definitely pretty much self-taught. And there was a turning point. I think it was really lonely. I came from volleyball, a very big team sport, especially for females, and I transitioned to golf, which was me and my dad. I was the only girl at the driving range.
Hmm.
And we were in such a tough financial spot as a family that how I got into long drive was I used to bet old men for buckets of balls at the range.
Really? Okay.
So I've always been tall. I've always hit the ball far. But really that's always been an interest of mine. So once I made varsity my freshman year of high school, and I actually met girls who played golf and I had stuff in common with other girls in the sport, that really made me hungry. Especially I think I shot a 39 on a front nine my freshman year of high school and on a very difficult course. And that really told me I could do it.
Hmm. I need to ask you then on the flip side of things because you have that moment at 39, and if I know golf, and I've been in golf since golly, I don't want to date myself, but I'm 53 and I started at 13. So that's 40 years. I'm sure after that 39, there was the all of a sudden the come back down to earth moment. And I feel like that's where the separator happens because the folks that kind of stick to it are the folks that, if they're doing the right thing, they last. So they get by those bumps in the road.
Yeah, it was hard because since keep in mind, I really only had like less than a year of experience of grinding before going to my freshman year of high school.
Yeah. Okay.
So having that score, I don't know if it really rang the magnitude of that in my head and understanding how difficult that is for people.
Mhm.
Granted, I know how difficult it is now.
Yeah.
But I think back then it made me hungry and it made me feel capable. And honestly, my golf team was good, but really there was only a few good players. And then it kind of trailed off into, your JV and frosh off team.
Yeah.
So to be a freshman and kind of leading the pack, that really fired me up because coming from being pretty much almost an only child, I have a half brother, but he's been well out of the house. I've always been forced to feel older or hang out with the adults or kind of fit in with that crowd. So when I was shooting the same score as some of these senior girls, it definitely put a fire under my bridge.
Yeah. And you talk to this subject as a girl, but the truth is, guys listening to this, elderly gentlemen, ladies, kids, adolescents, college team, golf does get a little lonely. Even though you might be on a team, because if you really want to excel, there is that grind time, that time where you've got to separate yourself and work. And I'd sort of love your comment there too, because there's certainly sacrifice involved to take the next step, like you did to Division 1 golf.
Yeah, that was definitely a big step. One, I was the first person in my immediate family to attend college.
Okay.
So that was one hurdle. The other hurdle was I chose to go as far away as humanly possible to New York.
Out of the country, yeah. Uh-huh.
So that was another hurdle. But three, I had nobody to lead me or tell me how to contact college coaches. So luckily, I'm not a shy person and I was eager to get people on the phone. But as far as recruiting went, I had no idea. Luckily, when I visited New York for the first time and then this media career kind of came at the forefront of my brain, it really excited me.
Hmm.
I just saw the studios, I saw the sets, and I was like, this is something special. So can I take my talent, as you've done, and media and combine it and become a unicorn in this space for my age? Come to find out that Amanda Balionis went to Hofstra, Kira Dixon went to Hofstra. Um,
The Legion
which
of
funny
your.
because yeah, they don't really highlight their alumni, which maybe they should start. But a pretty exciting route. I mean, unfortunately though, it kind of playing golf in the snow really defeated my love for the game though, during
Right.
that time at least.
Hey, it's amazing too, and I don't think we need to talk about it, but just for the folks listening, if you are having that wobble time, which you're going to have in the game, stick to it because golf opens some crazy doors, doesn't it? I mean, the folks you get to meet.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I've been around the world now. Australia, Japan, Italy,
Mhm.
all across the United States, different countries playing golf. I mean, what other sport allows you to do that? My dad always used to say, okay, you're going to play volleyball. What after college? You going to go to the Olympics or are you going to just go at the beach and play with your friends?
Gotcha.
And unfortunately, that's a hard truth to swallow. But golf, there's really no limits. And it speaks true. And everyone always says that, but really, it is limitless.
Yep, it truly is. Okay, let's get to it. I want to start with this, the nickname Noodle. When did this happen? High school or college?
Oh, you did some digging.
Right.
So
You told me about this ways back. And if you do go to Avery's social media, you'll see a long and very powerful golf swing. I feel like that's the origin of the name, right?
Yeah, so my freshman year, the of high school, the varsity captain nicknamed me that because my thoracic spine looked like one of those little inflatable car dealership people in front.
I can see that.
And yeah, because like I was so unorthodox, I was so ultra flexible in my backswing, which fast forward how many years now, who would have thought that that would be what we wanted? um, but at the time, super unorthodox, and it did get me into some timing problems at the time because I was still learning. But yeah, so she said I was like a noodle, so that's how I got that nickname.
Here's an interesting question. And now again, the teacher in me is kind of intrigued. You
Hmm.
talk about being unorthodox, and nowadays in the modern game, because of the proliferation of different technology, it's less cookie cutter than what it used to be when I was coming up.
Yeah, for
Mm,
sure.
But the thing is, if you have this unorthodox action, you can be a catch net for a number of folks trying to give you advice as soon as you play badly. So I
Hmm.
want to find out from you about the resolve that it takes to stick to your journey and not suddenly start changing things in the interest of getting better when stuff's going a little hard?
That's a tough one. One, because not only was I unorthodox, quote unquote, but I was learning it myself. So who was I to say that my way was the best way? You know what
Mhm.
I mean? With little experience. So taking that, I mean, it's crazy too how much my golf swing has grown solely from watching other videos of people swinging, not instruction videos, just watching.
Yeah.
I learned very quickly that I'm a visual learner because if you take my golf swing when I was 14 to just even 18, I maybe had a handful of lessons during that time, and how different it has transformed is wild. I think a lot of times there's some stuff you have to recognize that maybe you're just wrong and you have to swallow that pill, because my chipping was wrong. I used to hit like a hammer. My dad made me hammer nails into a piece of 2x4, and
Mhm.
he wanted to instill in me that it was all like a chop shot. Okay, well, you really shouldn't be doing chop shots, which I quickly learned that there's a lot of errant shots that can come out of that. So I think it's based on your skill level. And if you are working with a coach, I mean, put your trust in the one person. If you're starting the game, and be good at listening and coming in one ear and letting it go out the other, because it very well could be advice, but maybe that's not advice for you. Or maybe that's advice they heard for themselves, but it has nothing and doesn't apply to your swing.
Yeah.
So being conscious. And now we have video recording. That's the best tool you can ever take advantage of.
I love your insights where you said you just watch people swing, because it's amazing how, as a young kid, I used to play against him, but it's hard not to watch Ernie Els.
Mhm.
That rhythm would almost settle in one's soul. And
Yeah.
Victor Hovland was on the show, and he said he came over here from Norway, and all these coaches and stuff, and they'd try and give him information, and he was savvy enough at the time to go, yeah, I'm listening to you, but I don't believe that really will help me right now. And then he'd
Mhm.
go further and then ask for reasons. And I feel like it sounds to me like you were of the same attitude when you were learning the game.
Yeah, I was very picky, but also I wasn't too stubborn to where I was closed-minded to it. I think one thing that bothered me so much when I got to college was we had a reputable golf coach our freshman year who was a teaching pro,
Mhm.
class A, and he would try to help the girls, and the girls would say, "No, I have my own swing coach," right? Back home or whatever. And excuse me, you just shot 85 3 weeks in a row. I don't really think you're one to pick that you can't take any pointers here.
Yeah.
Like, it to be that level of stubborn really bothered me. Because if you're shooting under par every round, who cares, right? Go do what you want to do. But when you're in a spot where you are just sucking a lot, you're in a place where you need all the help you can get. So I think there's twofold to that.
Okay. You have the podcast, Why You Suck at Golf. I have my ideas. I would say the average golfer listening to this could get way better at shot number three, which you
Mhm.
talked about chipping and pitching and stuff like that. Most folks want to drive it long like Averee Dovsek, but then they're littering the golf course with errant tee shots and making big numbers. What's your take on, in your experience in the game, why most people suck at the game?
Yeah. So first off, that podcast is a lot of interviews, because when I was on Brian and Frank's show, they would toss me golf questions, and I was kind of always dancing on my feet because I was in college. I didn't have time to watch golf all day. So I started that podcast with no notes, and that would be the question I asked everybody at the end of the interview.
Okay.
Uh, Now I'm slowly bringing it back, so we'll see how that transforms. But I guess I have two answers. You would have asked me in 2020 when I started that podcast, I'd probably say something that people don't hit it far enough,
Okay.
especially the women I was playing with at the collegiate level. I mean, there were some girls who were hitting their drives 200 yards flat.
All right.
Uh, I don't think they were that off, though. I think I was off, because now, 4 years later, I think it's your 100 yard and in.
Ah, you're preaching. Yes.
Period. So as I am doing my long drive right now and I'm getting itchy to play normal golf again, that is at the forefront of my brain, as I need to dial that in.
100 yards and in. I'm writing that down. And with that, I'm going to second a segue to why people downloaded. Um, I've watched you on social media, and I think it's very cool because I didn't know you were into long driving. I knew you were a decent golfer, collegiate, and all of a
Mhm.
sudden popping up on long drive leaderboards, and it looks to me like you're getting longer and longer. And now you're contending in
Mhm.
events. So let's start it here. First off, what was the impetus? What was the inspiration? I know you hit the ball longer than your contemporaries, but what made you want to go into this genre of the game?
Well, in college, I really, really fell out of love with normal golf. The weather was tough. I was so immersed into golf as it was with my career, writing about it, talking about it, speaking about it, being on camera talking about it. And I loved golf in itself, but I realized like I was the rudest and so mean to myself on the golf course.
Oh, really?
And that was something that I did not carry into my everyday life. And that was only on the golf course, which told me that I had some mental maturing to do because I didn't have any practice facilities in college. So my game was lacking. It was cold. So I was like, what can I do to stay competitive? I love the gym. I was prepping for bodybuilding shows and like I am such a gym nerd that how could I combine the two? I need to stay competitive. I want to be motivated in the gym. I want to stay in golf and I don't want to branch out and do something completely sideways. Um, so in 2021, my senior year in the fall, I entered a Metropolitan Golf Association long drive competition, trained for 2 weeks, and I won it. I
Okay.
think I hit like 284 yards or something at the
Wow.
time.
Okay,
And
stop. Because most folks watching this or listening to this like 284 yards, if they're honest with themselves, that I mean, hell, I want to do that. I wish I could.
I
Okay.
know most people, especially uh, the guys, love to say they hit it farther than they do,
They,
which I'm learning.
they don't.
Um, so that happened, and I was like, hmm. I mean, that was really fun. I enjoyed that. So once I moved to Florida upon graduation, I got prompted to go to Japan for the World Championships in 2022. And I said, well, what other chance do I have to go to Japan? You know, what's going to bring me there other than this in the
Mhm.
near future, at least? So I said, sure, it's a nice tax write-off. I'll write off the flight and
Yep.
I'll head on over there. That format was so twisted. And basically, normal long drive, you have 2 minutes and 30 seconds and six golf balls. You need to get one in.
Okay.
The format was in Japanese before we went over there. So you had 2 minutes and 30 seconds to get three balls in. So if you had, example, if I hit three balls in at 220 yards, but you hit 315 yards, but only one ball, I would win.
Okay, I see. So they're looking for more of the
So
average.
twisted.
Okay, gotcha.
So I didn't do well because I was shaking. My kneecaps were shaking. I could not even hold a club. I was so nervous for my first one. Which is funny because since then I don't think I've ever gotten below not gotten below three balls in the grid since that event.
I got I got to stop you here because you said that word nerves. And that's the big one of the biggest scourges in the game where people can't get their games from the driving range to the first tee. And then
Mhm.
as soon as the pressure gets ramped up, then the whole thing comes apart at the seams, and then we lose ourselves mentally as well.
Yeah.
Averee Dovsek, dealing with nerves. I can imagine when you're in a long drive contest, look, you hyped, right? And there's stuff going on and you've warmed up and you're going fast. So I can imagine your system is on edge anyway. And then you have the nerves of saying, okay, there's a clock going here and I've got to deliver shots into that grid in front as far as I can. How do you calm the
Hard.
mind? Huh?
I can't understand or I can't even explain the level of adrenaline you get in long drive. It makes no sense to me.
Really?
And I back then I had a ton, right, for that first event. And ever since that event, I've really never had the same amount, which I like to think that actually hurts me. I wish I had the adrenaline and then the nerves and I was jumpy because
Mhm.
that's what you need. You need your twitch muscles to fire. You need that excitement. You need to go faster, which is completely opposite than normal golf. So since that event, that's actually something I struggle with is sometimes I can't hype myself up enough because I'm like too level-headed. Like,
Okay.
what is this? Where was this when I needed this in normal golf?
Mhm.
Um, but being said, now I am by far, last year, I think I was the most accurate hitter on the tour by like 35%. I
Really?
think I was like 76% accurate, and the next girl was like 40 something. So getting balls in the grid is not my problem. And so last year, I guess, was my first rookie year on World Long Drive. And now this is my second year and we have a few events left. It's night and day though, how I've transformed, and how my swing has transformed. Um, but to answer your question, the adrenaline and kind of being a mental case helps you in long drive.
Yeah, but I'm sure there's an element of breathing and kind of focus
Mhm.
that's involved. I mean, you just don't get up there kind of willy-nilly and just swing away and hope. There's some, focus of your mental intent, yes?
Yeah, that is some people's route is they do go swing up there and try not to think.
Okay.
Jamie Glazier, I don't know if you are familiar with him, but he's a mental coach. And he was talking to me one time about like the box breathing, where you're like inhale for 4, exhale for 4, inhale for 4, exhale for 4. That's the one thing that's actually really helped me, where it keeps my mind going. But as far as my muscles, it relaxes them, I guess, and keeps them a little bit more settled. Because I noticed too, if I would get nervous, I would not use my legs in my swing, which is, we can get into it in a second, but distance is a big part of your legs. So stuff like that is I toy with and try to see what works best for me.
Oh, I love that. Just for context sakes, the first one you entered, you hit a 284.
Mhm.
Like I say, most folks would want to. Where I don't know if you measured clubhead speed there, but where are you currently with your clubhead speed, ball speed, and distance? And is there a goal in front?
Yeah, I can actually tell you exactly. I remember this so vividly. I remember back in 2021, I was swinging about 103 miles an hour swing speed.
Okay.
And I remember practicing on TrackMan and not being able to go over 280, like total yardage.
All
And
right.
I was so frustrated. I was like, oh my gosh. Granted, I only practiced for a couple weeks, but I get to the competition. There was a TrackMan there. I hit 281 my first swing because I was so pumped up.
Wow.
Cool. So I go out and win it. I guess from then to now, let's just go incrementally. So the next year, last year, I believed my top was about 111 miles an hour, which is a pretty good speed gain,
Yes. I mean, that's,
without losing your swing.
yeah.
Now I've hit 116 a couple times. So it's been awesome
He's hitting a
progression.
PGA Tour average. That is
Yeah.
freaking good.
And there's a girl who swung 128 miles an hour the other day.
Good
That
grief.
makes me sick.
Well, okay, now people are like, "Oh, this is all very cool. Now, how do we do this?" I mean, we don't all swing it like noodle, but what have you done to for these speed gains? There's obviously there's the gym work. I'd like you to kiss that a little bit, but yeah, what are some of the takes that you could share to get some more out of the golf swing?
Let's start at the range.
Yeah.
Really, it's people overcomplicating it. Don't put the cart before the horse.
Uh,
If your swing is not very good and you can't even hit the center of the face, don't try to swing as hard as you can.
okay.
Right? Let's tackle that first. I was already a decent ball striker, but there's a lot of people, and that's why they hit so many OB shots on long drive, is they didn't have that first, but maybe they have the speed. So my advice, master hitting a good smash factor in the center of the face.
Hmm.
Moving forward, you need to get uncomfortable hitting as many balls as humanly possible in a session. Not 20, not 30. I don't get fast until about 60 golf balls.
Are you serious? Well,
I
you
mean,
fit. I mean, because that's not, yeah, for most folks, they're like, 60 balls, whatever. But if you hit 60 balls, you will be exhausted. I mean, that's a lot of hitting.
drivers, it's a lot of endurance training. Like it will suck, but you will get better at it. So I think, and once you get that second gear, it's almost, I compare it to like a runner's high. You
Yeah.
know, if you like start running and it sucks, and then you keep going, you suddenly flip that second gear and it's a lot easier. It is similar to where you're struggling, but all of a sudden you get that next level and you could probably hit 200 balls. Sometimes my coach has to stop me where he's like, no, you're cut off today because we need to hit tonight or tomorrow morning. Because
Mhm.
we'll hit when we go to my coach's place, Bobby Peterson in North Carolina at a One Stop Power Shop. Kyle Berkshire trains out of there. A bunch of us do. We will sometimes hit 3 times a day.
Okay.
Um, Morning, lunch, and evening, as hard as you can. So there's a lot of element of getting comfortable swinging as hard as you can for a long time.
Okay. So we got simplified on the range, center strikes. Then you like get uncomfortable hitting a lot of balls.
Mhm.
Right. Next step.
All right. So granted, this is different for everyone, but I'm just going to share what's worked for me and my peers. I think a big thing is talking about extension at the top of the golf swing.
Okay.
So we have heard the term parallel in normal golf, right? We want to keep the shaft parallel to the ground, or people like to say they do. And sometimes I even feel like I do when I definitely don't. But taking it up to the top and getting that extension really high and above your head, not always necessarily wrapping around your neck, but high where your hands are high. So I don't know if you look at my swing, I am very blessed in the sense where I'm a right-handed golfer, and if I take it back, my left arm, it can stay so straight to really high up, which a lot of people would start to break. And that's where that whole putting the shaft behind your neck comes from, is they can't get that super high. So the only reason they can do it is bend it and their wrist has to go.
Yeah.
So that I think is a big blessing for me, but helps a lot of people.
I want to talk about that because what you're essentially saying, because I've been teaching golf for ages, and I've always believed that consistent ball strikers have a wide swing arc. The handle of the club is not very close to them through any portion of the swing. And all greats, the club extends away, and then it, like you said, it's wide at the top there. But you hear so many golfers now talking about rotation and rotary speed and stuff, and they all turn away from their arms, and the arm buckles suck into them, and then they can never match the face up down there contact. Do you focus more on rotation than width, or the other way around? Because I feel like I know the answer here.
Honestly, a combination of both, but I will say probably rotation.
Okay.
But then I see our world number one, who honestly, she looks like she does have so much width, and she's more, I guess, sways horizontal than what Kyle and I try to master. We go to the top, and if you want, I could turn this around. I'll stand and show you. But
wait, just for clarity's sakes, I'm not saying move the body side to side. I'm saying rotation, but the arms are just a long way from the middle of the golf swing.
Yeah,
I'm not saying side to side.
Sorry, yes.
I'm seeing so many golfers turn back and forth, but their arms are narrow to them, and they're not achieving anything really in terms of transmitting energy to the club and the ball.
Yeah, no. So you're exactly right. You want to keep width out away from your body as you go out and back up. So that's exactly right. You want to keep as much extension in your arms.
Well, turn the camera. Let's see it.
And I don't know if you can pause it.
And while you're doing this, I'll describe a little bit for the audio listeners. You can go and watch. It's Avery, Averee _Dovsek, Dovsk, and there's a lot of footage over there. And you'll see the golf swing, and you'll see what Avery's saying in terms of having the hands nice and high at the top. Now, Avery, let's quickly do this before you show anything.
Okay.
Longest time, and I was a victim, we had to keep our right elbow or our trail elbow close. That has ruined more golf swings than car accidents, in my opinion. So you're not afraid of the right elbow getting away from the body going back in at the top, the trail elbow?
Definitely not. No, definitely not. Also, peep my new golf office, got some definitions. Mulligan, for hacker, sandbagger. This is the first debut and we're live. Okay.
That's it.
So I guess I don't have a club, but I'm just gonna talk. So I guess if this is your position one, right? I'm gonna try to talk visually and just for people just listening who can't see.
Gotcha.
You want to do a normal setup, right, for your driver. So a lot of long drivers keep it inside of their left heel or a couple inches outside of their left foot. Okay. So some people are really chasing that ball upon impact. Gotcha. Another thing, so if this is position one, I like to say position two is moving your hands just a little bit to the right if you're a right-handed golfer. It's a small weight shift to where your weight kind of tacks your right heel, and this is going. Position three here, that's where we're talking about that extension. So you want to come off your chest a lot here. So I guess your normal golfer would probably come back a little sooner. We're taking an extra second to really make sure that we're coming off our chest and our weight is shifting over to the right-hand side.
Well, the audio folks, what Avery's talking about there, position three is essentially where the arms or the basically parallel, the lead arms parallel with the ground. That's where you're at like maximum, the club head's as far from you as what you can possibly be without swinging off the ball too far. Am I summarizing correctly?
Yeah, correct. So you have your extension here, and I'm trying to remember. I don't really talk about positions as much as I just do them naturally. So
Uh-huh.
I would say once three, if you're up to four, that's where you're gonna almost look probably like a normal driver swing.
All
Is
right.
you're up here. Position five now, I really have this arm
The front
super
arm.
straight. Now,
Hmm.
what you can't see, my socks don't match, but when you're up here, my heel is completely off the ground in this position.
So you're not averse then to the heel of the lead foot coming off the ground to get a little extra into the backswing there. You're not really
That
hard.
is huge.
Okay.
If you look at 90% of long drives, we are all doing that because now this is really important. Position six is what you're going to do. You're going to take your body and it's going to look like you're almost sitting down, but you're going to slant sitting down towards your target. So it's going to be like a drop. And that's when your heel is going to come stomp to the ground. So you're going to be up high and you're going to slant sit. And then seven is going to become you're sitting and then your hips are uncorking and then your body's coming through the swing at impact.
Golly. Okay. This begs the question for the folks who were watching on YouTube. If you don't, you should go and find it. Um, the I can see everything. I can see the width. I can see the stretch at the top. I can see the forward heel up, and then how you plant that, and that's the trigger to get into the downswing. I love that sitting move because you're loading everything up that you can then push off the ground. But then you
The
talk.
sitting move is the hardest thing for me. I work tiredly at it, and it still is something I struggle with.
I think it's partly all the lessons I give. I think it's partly mental too, because you want to hit the ball hard, and there's this hit impulse because you're at the top and you're like, I got to hit the ball with a bat now, as opposed to plugging your body in the ground to kind of centralize yourself and then transmit energy. So there's a lot of, I think belief involved there to trust the process a bit. But I do want to say this, in terms of that impact position where you are plugged in the ground, you're opening up the body, there's side tilt and stuff going on.
Mhm.
This is going to take some mobility and flexibility and a whole heap of strength, because your average golfer can't just go trying this stuff because they may do themselves in a little bit. Yes, this is where
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's definitely some injury concerns because if you're taking your Sunday golfer who's not even hitting balls multiple times a week, their thoracic spine is not even super used to turning like that.
Mhm.
You're definitely going to run into some problems. But I think doing these things on a scale that works for you and not necessarily maybe looks identical to me, is going to be a big thing. So maybe you spend a whole day on just that initial weight shift,
Yeah.
right? Where you're just focusing on getting a little more weight towards your backside and that rotation of your hip. Baby steps, right? And once you master that and you feel more confident, then, try to go for the extension, try to go for more length at the top. But think about it, it's happening so damn fast,
Yeah.
really.
Mm-hmm.
So, you might look dumb, but go slow at the range. Everyone feels like they look dumb at the range. So you're just fitting right in. So at least practice it right.
I want to say this because you in 2 seasons have gone from 103 to 116. That's a jump of 13 miles an hour clubhead speed. First off, people, clubhead speed's one thing. It's got to turn into the commensurate ball speed. So the smash factor that Avery was talking about. But let's put this into perspective, because that leap you made in such a short space of time is borderline miraculous. For most folks, they're going to work their booty off and probably maybe pick up a mile or two. Am I crazy or am I correct? You're the pro.
I think it's relative. I think people's definition of working hard is very different than mine.
Sure.
I think do you it's my livelihood, right? I mean, granted, this is not my full-time job. Golf is really, or long drive is like a hobby to my normal career. It's just an added bonus to add to my resume. But it's a great workout. It's a great stress reliever. If I'm sore in the gym one day, I'll go and hit balls and get a workout there. So to me, it's a different form of cardiovascular health,
Mm-hmm.
practice. I don't know if you heard that echo.
I did, yeah.
But I think, yeah, I mean, it's a big jump. And admittedly, I don't spend as much time on it as maybe I should because there's not that many events this year. So I would imagine that I would be even farther along if we had some more events that made me a bit hungrier to practice.
Help us to, a lot of us are kind of sedentary. We sit at desks, we're in cars commuting and stuff. And gym seems like a big deal. But I'm certain that you could advise one or two things, maybe stretches, strength things that we could just do just to allow us to be a bit more mobile and to maybe get a little bit more noodle-esque for a little bit more speed? You have some, drills or stretches or exercises people could try?
Oh my gosh, there's so much you can do. I think something that is a cheap investment to where maybe you can't get to the gym or you can't get to the range or you're stuck at home, grab a medicine ball. Grab a
Mhm.
10-pound medicine ball or a lighter if you think that might be too heavy for you and practice the positions of the golf swing. Because if you're holding positions and practice in front of a mirror so you can look at what you're doing, but if you're holding the positions of the swing with a little bit of weight, you're gonna feel what it feels like to hit those positions properly because there's gonna be added stress. It won't be as easy. And then you fight through that. I mean, this long drive thing, I'm now hitting the ball. My gamer swings are about 295 total
Okay.
yardage.
Hmm.
And that's probably me swinging 108 miles an hour on the course. I'm at a point now where I'm like, am I gonna regret not playing normal golf professionally? Because I hit the ball so far compared to most women that I wonder if I'm going to just have 100 yards and in all the time.
Exactly. Uh-huh.
So that's at the forefront of my mind. And a lot of the stuff I've been working on in the gym with my trainer is a lot of stuff that's correlating to normal golf. I mean, we're talking a lot about rotational stuff, a lot of band work, a lot of focusing on working on different parts of your body while maintaining really, really a still head too. So there's a lot of stuff that's working in unison that's having me think different thoughts of golf.
You've just said something there that I want to mine a little bit because I feel like there's gold there. You talked about the movement, but having the stable head. And there's a squadron of people on social media that are about to poo-poo this because they're like, well, the head's got to rotate and it's got to move. Yes, it does, but within reason, there's a point of diminishing returns to everybody. And I would say the average golfer watching this, there is too much side to side and definitely up and down, and certainly away from the ball because of early extension out of people because they're not mobile or flexible enough during the swing. So that exercise you say about doing band work but keeping the head still, I think that's so important for just about everybody.
I mean, are you talking to Scotty Scheffler or are you talking to the 10 handicap?
So,
Because Scotty's head, it's gonna move, but there's a point to which it moves, right? Like your head's gonna move like you just said, no matter what. But your 10-20 handicapper, it's going to move a whole lot different. It's
yeah,
going to be messy. And there's the difference is two, practicing keeping your head still as far as an address position and a finish position. I mean, you're now working on, it's like rubbing your belly and patting your head. If you can do, is that the right thing? Yeah, it is. You
yeah,
could do exercises that stimulating your muscles, but now keeping your head still is now a form of balance, mental work, breath work. I mean, you're contributing so much stuff to the golf swing. So yes, your head will not be perfectly still in the golf swing, but it's not going to be messy either if you work on it.
yeah. I want to say this, and head stable or still is not necessarily head down. All
Yeah.
great golfers, the head's not drooped over and heavy head looking like a turtle over the golf ball when you're striking it.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at my long drive swing, my head looks like it whips down sometimes. It looks like
Mm.
I'm just got whatever when you get in car crash. What is that called?
Whiplash.
Whiplash.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks pretty damn bad sometimes. But what I'm saying is on the way back, if my head's not moving and coming with me, or I'm not doing unnecessary weight shifts, or I'm, not putting myself into a good position at the top because my eyes are following me, or whatever that may look like, your body is smart enough to react to what you're doing.
Yeah.
But what you can do to accompany that is train your head and train your mind to be prepared for it, right? I don't know. That's the best way I can think about putting
Yeah,
it.
yeah, certainly it makes a lot of sense. And look, we respond to our eyes. So if stuff's boogieing about the show too much, there's going to be athletic compensations. And then people are like, well, my swing just feels so inconsistent. And I'm like, well, by definition, it is. But you can cut down that stuff a bit if there is some sort of
Yeah.
stability going on.
Well, our world number one, Monica Living, she's working with a coach who is solely focusing on her eyes. So using extreme up close cameras that's watching her eyes through her golf swing to see what they're doing. And she is the fastest she has ever been, the most accurate she has ever been. But there's a lot to be said about what your eyes are doing in the golf swing, which is attached to your
Yeah.
head.
Okay, it's been fantastic stuff. You've kind of touched the whole thing. If there were marching orders, because you've talked about the 100 yards and in, which I love. Now you've shared some keys for power, and then you said, "Look, center strike." I want you to go there a little bit, but you sort of glossed over the ball position a little bit because I feel like so many golfers don't maximize because they don't get the ball properly set up to them because they're halfway concerned about what's likely to happen. So
Yeah.
you've got like a minute 30 or 2 minutes, whatever it is, to hit balls. You're making sure that ball position is completely perfect for you to catch the ball in the correct segment of the arc for maximum speed and success.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it does look different for everyone. And we're talking about teeing up the ball. In addition to that, we
Mhm.
have long drivers and hitters who have 4.5 inch tees, right? I mean, that's a lot. I mean, the ball's like floating at that point. That's like a whole iPhone under your ball. Um, but then you have some people who keep it low, right? Because they have so much like they drop so much into their impact position where their angle of attack is so high
Well,
to
yeah,
where if they were to tee it any higher, they'd be hitting moon balls.
gotcha.
Um, so it is a bit different, but that's where it's on the golfer. You need to go to the range and you need to experiment with different positions. I would say if you're playing normal golf, the inside of your left heel and what you've probably been taught is probably pretty spot on.
Okay.
If you have a very, very fast swing speed though, or maybe even slower, play with both sides of it. I mean, the only way to find out is practice. And if we're talking to do stuff a little bit out of the ordinary where you're not taking it back parallel or your sequencing isn't exactly the same as what might have been used to and you're going for extra distance, play around with it because you're really not gonna, there's no one size fits all answer.
Okay, yeah, amen. Last one. I'm sure there's been equipment adjustment as you've gone through this journey.
Mhm.
Because as speeds have changed and such, dynamics in the swing are changing. The club fitting, it's very, very real to consistent success, right?
Yeah, so I hit on long drive a 48-inch shaft. So what is that, 2 inches above standard?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so and I believe the USGA just outlawed that last year for normal golf, or the year before, I forget. But so my shaft is actually a bit whippier. So compare it to more of like a senior flex shaft to where it's a double kick point shaft and it takes a long time to time. So you almost want to act like you're pausing at the top of the shaft and it's going to kick at the top and it's going to kick at impact. And Kinetics makes that brand. It's a D10.
Okay.
Um, so a lot of players are playing a whippier, more producing a lot of lag type of shaft. But we look at Kyle Berkshire, actually all champions last year of every World Long Drive um, championship, all played a stiffer shaft.
Okay.
So we're now in this place where it used to be super stiff shafts for super fast swing speeds. Now we went to more flexy shafts, right? Because we're trying to generate lag power. And
Hmm.
then now we have the people who have mastered that are trying back to stiffen the shafts up so they remain in the grid and more consistent that way. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, the men are hitting pretty much 4.5 degree driver heads, and the women are hitting anywhere from that to probably your standard 9.5. So I switch it up depending on wind conditions and such.
Well, I'm glad you say that because too, people they look at the driver head and they're like they just change the loft on the face where the shaft is the most important thing, and then the loft is commensurate to whatever the shaft adjustment is. Am I correct?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, the shaft plays an important role, but I would be lying if I said that ball speeds didn't vastly differentiate from different equipment manufacturers.
All right.
Very different, and smash factors. I mean, the smash factors, I know some brands, I won't name them because I'm not trying to get roasted by
Oh,
anyone, but I mean, I haven't seen people hit a 1.5 on TrackMan or 1.49 with them. So it's very interesting
okay.
what plays into that. Now, are you a good enough golfer to make it work? I don't know. So yeah, definitely stuff to toy around with.
I have a sense you're about to get hit on social media with the goodies on which companies these are.
Hey, I don't know. I love my Strixon, so I'll just say that, but the
Yeah.
others I can't speak for.
To social media. I've teased it. I want you to share it. If there's a website, please share that. Tell people where they can find the podcast, please.
Yeah, just head on to my social media at Avery underscore Dovsek, AVEREE underscore DOVSEK. The podcast is Why You Suck at Golf, available on anywhere you get podcasts, and hopefully we'll bring it back and create some more episodes here soon.
Sounds sensational. Look, I really appreciate you joining us. I'm looking forward to watching the chase for the speed. 116 right now. What's the ball speed?
Oh, I don't even know on that one. Admittedly, I hit that one fast, but I don't remember what the ball speed is. I mean, I think it was 170 something, low 170s, I think. I
Yeah.
forget what the math is on that.
Well, I would think so. You know, PGA Tour average is sort of around the 175 range. 180 plus is elite.
Yeah, I know our world long dry or our world long, what am I saying? Our world number one, she hit 186 ball speed,
That's right.
which makes me sick, but it's fine. We're
You're
just
on
gonna
the
keep
way. So
practicing.
you're on the way. So I'm looking forward to seeing your journey. I think it's fascinating. I think it's cool. And more than anything, Avery, I love the sacrifice that you're putting into it because this doesn't come for free. It's earned, and you've done a great job. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Thanks for having me on today.
My pleasure.